Hello. We're talking about video. Yay. Who shoots video here? Who doesn't know what video is? Well, you're going to learn a lot in this. It's like stills, but way more complicated, because we have to take a lot of them continuously and then stick them together. You can't just choose one. Much too easy. So, yeah, we did a brainstorm to try and get a title for this last night. Victor was getting so crazy with his titles. It was like, I said, why don't we just call it Filmmaking with Fuji cameras? He went, yeah, right. So I've been using them for many, many years. I think my first Fuji camera was probably the little compact. What are they called again? The 100? I can't remember anyway. But I've had them for years. I think the first XT camera I got was the 2. In fact, my favorite camera of all time is, take a guess. Anybody? 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 If you get it right, you are able to go and buy it tomorrow in B&H or wherever with no discount whatsoever. No? No? Nobody knows? It's a Fuji camera, obviously, because that would be really rude not to put that in there, wouldn't it? It's a GFX 100. Big camera. My favorite video I've ever made, film I've made was with this. I'm not going to play it now. I'd rather play it now because it's all cats. But it was a beautiful camera to shoot with. And I love that large sensor. Anyway, that's worth watching on my YouTube and Vimeo, blah, 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 blah. So really, I want to talk about cinema cameras versus these, and whether these actually still have a place. Well, obviously, yes, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And I shoot with everything. I literally don't care who makes it. It just needs to be good. And here's a number of different cameras, all with Fuji lenses, which is nice and appropriate for this, as well as an XT3 there. And I was always told that this is not true, many, many, many times, but unfortunately it is. And it is more important in more ways than one. When I want to shoot fast, because I shoot documentaries, when I want to shoot fast, well, I always want to shoot fast, to be honest with you. I never want to shoot slow, as I was just discussing before this. I also want to shoot without getting, being in the way and drawing attention to myself. And, there's many, many times, I've been on many, many big shoots, big serious shoots, and it's always a small crew, but I'm using big cameras, and there's places where you just don't want to have a big camera because you just stand out like a sore thumb. But I also really like to take photos, which for some reason video cameras don't do, but there's no real reason why they don't, apart from the reds, mind you, technically. I like taking photos, but mostly, obviously, of cats, my cats generally. But I think that's the last you're going to see of cats in this presentation, which sucks. So anyway, sensor sizes. This is not to scale, just to let you know. If it was, how cool would that be? I mean, wow, I'd like to see the lens, though, that could fill that medium format. It'll go to the other end of the room one day. One day. I'll tell you something, I will need an assistant to carry it, though. So anyway, I love full frame. I've loved full frame ever since the 5D Mark II and other cameras. Fuji are very much two sensor sizes, as you know, Super 35, APS-C, and the medium format. They never went down either the full frame or the cinema camera routes. The latter, I don't really know why they never did, but the thing is, this is easily the closest they've come to having a true video camera, a true cinema camera. The key thing is, they fix and improve many things. So I bought them all, and I never sell things, which I really should. I guess that makes me a hoarder. So I really do need to sell. They just sit in, I would say boxes, but I'm not as good as that. They sit in on shelves, I need to sell them. And I use them, and I get excited by them, and easily the XT4 was my favorite of the smaller sensor ones for a while. But it had a few things which I didn't like about it, so I didn't really use it. And this one fixes most of those things, and it's packed with features important to me. The image is obviously really important, the size, and how much it costs. And as much as I'd like to, I don't have time to go through everything. So I'm just going to talk about my favorite things. What's my favorite thing? Come on, anybody? 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 Bueller? Bueller? No? No? Nobody can guess anything? Just pick one thing. Huh? I can't hear what you said, but yes. No idea what you said. What did he say? What did he say? Anybody here? Give him a microphone. It's actually, it's a new feature in this camera, 6K, 3x2 open gate, which is a new and old perspective. I'm going to say old. It's old in that for video, you know, it's 4x3 is what we used to shoot, so it's close enough. And whenever I shot 4x3, which was more than half my career, all I ever wanted was 16:9. And then I'd go wider and wider and wider and wider until it was like a little slit, like there. Like, how cinematic is that for snakes? And nothing else. So going the other way has really been refreshing. And I've always wondered what magic goes on at the top and bottom of that sensor in video, because it's never used. We always just uses the middle bit, but it just sits there unused. You can imagine how pristine that top and bottom is, because it's never used. Having the full sensor gives such a different perspective, especially on this screen, because it's going to look really good. Well, not the quality, but more how much it fills. Top to bottom. So it's basically the still frame, obviously. And it's really designed for anamorphic lenses, but it's currently not supported. There's no anamorphic D-squeeze yet. But also for the aspect ratios, you can see on that video there, so what I had, actually I should play it back again, so let me just talk over it. So what we have, so this is a 3x2 open gate. This is on the 10 to 20, what is it, 10 to 24? F4, something like that. Something like that. Anyway, so now I'm showing you what it looks like 17:9. I crop the top and bottom, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like in 4K 17:9 if I shot it in that aspect ratio with that lens. So that's the difference. So obviously the resolution is, you know, it's not 8K, 6K, it's still big, but the key thing is the top and bottom. It makes things a lot wider. Just a different way of seeing things, which is so strange. I mean, for TVs it's weird because we watch it and it's got borders left and right, but it's IMAX, really. It's IMAX aspect ratio. Now, you can use it for that, but most likely you're going to use it for that. Not for fixing your bad framing in post, because I don't do that, generally. I try to get it right in camera as much as possible, but if you're using a 17:9 frame of a 3x2, you have the ability to use that stuff top. So basically what that was the so this is the full image here. No, sorry, let me see what I'm actually doing. So this is a 3x2. What I'm going to do is shrinking it down to a 17:9 of the full image. Right, so now I will show you the amount of moving that we can do. If we use that image on a 4K 16:9 timeline. So you've got that top and bottom that you can move around and reframe. And of course you've got, and I'm not losing any resolution because it's a 4K timeline. So this is not a shot, this is just showing you how you can use it to do any reframing. Because normally, obviously, when you reframe, you lose resolution, but obviously not on a 4K timeline from 6K. This isn't new because we can do that with resolution. It's just new because of the top and bottom. And it is very, very useful for interviews. Now, your 8K can give you more resolution to crop, but this really is not to be used for replacing getting it in camera. It's just flexibility, really. But for interviews and documentaries, it's an absolute joy. And also one other thing that it's very useful for, which is horrendous, but apparently it is the way forward. Anybody know what that is? What's the worst thing to happen to video? That man knows. He's very smart. The worst thing to happen in video in years begins with V, ends in vertical. Got it? All right. So because you're shooting in a less wide but high, you can crop for vertical video, which unfortunately is asked for. But generally, if you're shooting 16:9, you have to shoot more than once because to crop 16:9 is horrendous. But you can shoot in 3x2 and crop. You still need to shoot a little bit wider, but it's most definitely there. So if you have to, then you can. As much as I want to resist as much as possible, eventually you just have to give up. But most of it is for that aspect ratio. So before I show you the rest of my favorite features, I just want to talk very briefly about this lens here, the 150 to 600 f5 to 6.8, which could well be my new favorite lens for Fuji. There's lots of new lenses for video. And what I'm going to show you is a little edit I put together for the show using two lenses, the 10 to 24, I can't remember whatever it is, and this. Just to have that, but I only ever use the 10mm, there's a 10 zoom at 10, so I wanted to have the extreme wide and the extreme telephoto. Just times it by 1.5 to get a full frame equivalent. So this is a very whimsical edit of my hometown, as I tend to do, but it'll make me homesick, so I'm going to play it. And hopefully we'll hear some nice music as well. Hopefully we'll hear some nice music as well. Hopefully we'll hear some nice music, please. Nope. Can we get some audio on the computer, please? Yay, thank you. So, top left just shows you frame rates, resolutions, picture profiles. It's looking a little bit more saturated on this screen than the actual grade, but anyway. Do anybody know what these sports are? No? The first one with the round ball? This one? Anybody? Anybody? This is called cricket. It's the most boring sport in the world, apart from all American sports. Sorry. We invented it, which means we're no good at it anymore. So it's kind of what we do with sports. But as you can see, just love that aspect ratio. It just gives you so much to play with. If you get a chance, actually I'll talk in a second. I'll let you watch this for a second. Who wears socks and sandals? Anyone? That's not me. This shows you the extreme from the super wide, super long to the wide. Hang on, wait for it. There we go. So it's just me going around filming in a place I filmed 1,000 times and always finding new stuff because there's always different people, always different things. And it's something that I just get onto a freeze frame of it, enjoy doing. So if you get a chance to, have a look at a comparison between the Justice League theatrical cut and the Snyder cut, because that was shot open gate with the intention of it being, 235, or Super 35, not Super 35, 235 to 1. And when you look at the version that Zack Snyder put on HBO, you can see how much space was left, how much headroom there was for everything, because it was never meant to be shown that way, but then he decided to. And you can see the composition is really odd in that. So you just got to, they could have, because when they turned it into letterbox, widescreen, they just moved things around, which is what they could have done. But anyway, I just wanted to, I just love that aspect ratio. It's just made me really interested in it. Internal recording codecs, I hate using external recorders with a passion because it's more weight, things to go wrong, especially when you're using a non-locking connector. It's terrifying. And this has these, which is great. It's got great other internal codecs, but to have ProRes not just HQ at 42, but a nice efficient LT, which is great. In there, it just makes editing really easy with any computer. I say there's loads of others in there, loads of Fuji's own codecs, which are very good. Maybe harder on your computer to edit, but I don't know of any other camera that has that built in other than Alexa's. So, because I'm recording, the rolling shutter performance is a huge thing, huge thing. For shooting handheld, especially, you don't want any jitters and stuff. Yes, you can use IBIS, which can help. It doesn't fix any other skewing. It's got terrific rolling shutter performance, an incredibly good dynamic range of literally about 14 stops, of usable 14 stops, which is incredible. And there wasn't much slow motion in that, but has beautiful 4K 120, slight crop on that. And the profile, the F-Log 2 and the internal profile. Just talking about the dynamic range, I was filming out there, and people in shadow and with the bright sun, and it was holding everything. And I was like, so good, so good. F-Log 2 is just a flat profile, as I'm sure you know. This is just, you've seen these a million times before. This is just the Eterna LUT that you download from their website. Just chuck it on there. And you can shoot in Eterna as well if you want to, and a lot of those shots were. And just going on to practicality of it, things that they didn't have which I needed, full-size HDMI. There's nothing worse than, whatever is something worse than a micro HDMI, that's no HDMI, but micro HDMI is horrendous. Full-size HDMI. Mic in, headphone out, on the body, no extensions needed. Really important. And also the missing link of audio via the hot shoe. So I have gone through this a little bit quick, because I know you're running behind, but I wanted to make sure we had some time for questions. Any questions at all about anything to do with this? Yes, sir. I'm not going to hear you, but good luck with the ambient. Just message me on Instagram, and I'll look at it. Yeah. I know nothing about these things. Will they, Todd? You're going to have open gate in the GFX? Come on, Todd. He's not giving anything. He's got poker face. So yes, they will one day in the future. Which model? Who knows? Could be 5, 6 models from now. I could be dead, but it's possible. By which point we'll probably be shooting just vertical video anyway. So it'll be a novelty when, oh, you're shooting in a landscape grip. How bizarre. Except it won't be that. It'll just be weird. So I would like that. It would be really good. But I'll tell you something that is really, really interesting about sensors and the way to shoot is there are some little cameras, Insta360 make them, which records the whole circular image. And so you choose the aspect ratio in post. So as long as you've got enough resolution, but to record that whole circular image from the lens, that's what you want. The ability to decide completely in post. And that way, you still need to obviously compose correctly, so it's going to thinking of what will it be like when I am in landscape or I mean vertical or whatever. So I hope they will. It's just processing power. You know, Sony don't make none of their cameras other than the Venice and Venice 2 do open gate, which is crazy. So I hope they do because it's catching on. You know, widescreen TVs are going to be gone soon. Everybody's going to go back to the old ones, tube TVs. Anything else? Anybody else? Yes. Are you sure you're loud enough for your microphone there? I hope you're on auto levels or something, I don't know. Something about B-RAW being included as an external output. And I think it's great that they offer both that and ProRes RAW. I think it's great. I would like both of those to be accepted by every NLE and not be limited. You know, if you shoot ProRes RAW, you can't edit in Resolve, not easily. So, you know, and well, ProRes RAW is true RAW, but it doesn't have the controls in most software. So, I don't shoot RAW. I shoot with the internal codecs. I don't need RAW. I've got 14 stops of dynamic range anyway. I can't be bothered with RAW. I shoot RAW stills, but when it gets to video, it's like, no. And I think the only time I shoot RAW is with a camera company's camera, which they're named after a color. So there and I shoot RAW. That's really good. But it needs to be integrated really well into the NLE, and the only one, well, Pros are all in Final Cut 10, which I don't use. I do use Resolve, but that's Blackmagic Raw, and I don't use Blackmagic Raw. Like just saying. Does that answer your question? Is it? All right. Try my best. Well, they're not here. I'll forget by the time I see them. Yes. Anybody else over there? Hi. Yeah, I do, but I actually have a filter on most of that, which is actually on here right now, which is it's a really nice one. It's called Bloom. It's coming out soon. The moment brought out their Cine Bloom, I wanted to sue them, but mine's going to be called Bloom Gold, the first one, and it's beautiful. Honestly, it's so nice, and it really, the roll-off is just so nice. I mean, it's good anyway. But I've been using diffusion filters a lot for the past 3 or 4 years, but on a very, very low strength, just because it does take off a lot of that video look that we get, especially with other certain cameras. But the look actually out of the Fuji without it is great. But it's something that obviously you can replicate a lot of stuff in post, but an optical filter, there's certain things which need to be done optically, and I think diffusion looks like this, it's so much better. So, yeah, but it's got a beautiful roll-off. And I love the look that comes out of this camera, whether you're shooting in a Turner, and the log is so easy to work with. And it's got the best view assist I've ever seen built into a camera. Normally, the view assists, where it shows you, with a 709 on it, are way too contrasty and saturated, whereas it's got the Eterna look on there, and it just is nice to work with. So. Anybody else? Yes. Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you. Normally cat or anything that is interesting. That if a story, it's just like a headline on a newspaper, if you ever read newspapers anymore, you will look at, all right, in a feed in Facebook, there we go. Something will grab you, and but let's go back to proper things. With a newspaper, the whole point is something that interests you. If you see a headline, you're not going to read the story if it doesn't interest you. So somebody tells me a story, and that's really interesting. Or they pitch me a project. If I'm interested in it, then I'll do it. I can't tell you what it will be about, because it could literally be about anything. And I think the key to a really good filmmaker is they can make a film that is really enjoyable and completely will suck you in about something you've never seen before or have any interest in. That's the goal. Sadly, these days, we very rarely watch things we don't want to watch, because we can choose for everything now, but in the old days, you just flick channels and just watch stuff and go, I can't believe I sat through that, but that was great. That's the goal of a filmmaker, is to make anything completely, really good. So shall I wrap up to let you try and get back on schedule? Sorry. I've got 6, what's that? What does 6 mean? 6 minutes more? Holy crap, I sped up to let you catch up. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Okay. No, we won't. Any questions about anything other than, we can still talk about cameras? Yes, sir. I did, but that's fine, we can repeat. You mean, what's the battery life like on the XH2S? Yeah. They're fine, that's what I use. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I shot all of that stuff on 1 and a bit, and that was about 4 hours of filming time, not actual footage, but it's great, it lasts more than long enough. You can easily go out with 4 batteries to last a day. You can adapt things. You can use power delivery from the USB-C. You can use dummy batteries into V-locks. Yeah, of course you can. It's all there. Yeah, so it could overheat. I've never had it overheat. And there is actually a thing where you can screw a fan onto the back. But I've never, in all my filming, I've never had it overheat. And it was hot. We've had a good weather in England, so it hasn't overheated. No. I tend to find cameras more chance of overheating if you run power delivery, because gets hot around the connector. But I honestly had not even a hint of overheating with it. So. Yes, hello. Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know if you've got anything interesting. I am working on just some YouTube stuff that is very, very delayed. And I've got a cat channel on YouTube which is really successful, which I really should just focus on, because it's like my first video had 500,000 views, boom, like that, and it's like, okay, this is what I should be making. There's quite a few camera channels. Maybe it's time for me to do less on that. But anyway, I spend a lot of time making those, super well produced. But actually projects, I'm going to potentially work with Jamie Oliver. We had a chat recently about doing some documentaries together. So not any actual features of stuff that I can think of. But I don't know. I keep my schedule pretty free-ish. I don't ever book myself up, purely because I like to be available if something does happen. And if it doesn't, it's fine. There's always stuff to do. So, right, you've got an idea? You want to hire me? Cool. I really am I work in documentaries mostly, so that's my genre. Which is so broad, which is great. I was talking to you earlier about I don't do a lot of narrative fiction. I still will do the occasional stuff, but because I'm very much a constant shooter, constantly seeing things and finding the shots and finding the story. That's my news background, so I like to work fast, and I like to. I lose energy if I just sit around too much. So that's going out like I did with that was really fun, because I think it's very much a challenge filming in a place that you filmed in so many times and still trying to keep it fresh. And yeah, I feel I did. Anybody else? No? Great. Oh, thank you very much. If you want to hear all of this again, I'm going to be back here at 4 or something. I don't know. If you have any other questions, I will be around here as well somewhere. I'll be the English guy with the jacket and probably glasses on, maybe. Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers.